Very good evening. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining the Bhagavad Gita Satsang, the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. We'll be continuing, that is from chapter 5 onwards, the yoga of action and knowledge. And we will be learning about Jnana Yoga or the yoga of knowledge. We have finished till verse 16. Let us continue chapter 5 verse 17 onwards. Those whose mind and intellect are wholly merged in him, who remain constantly established in identity with him and have finally become one with him, their sins being wiped out by wisdom, reach the supreme goal whence there is no return. This is actually a very beautiful verse, but it's very tough to attain this state. But let us understand what Lord Shri Krishna is teaching Arjuna here. Those whose mind and intellect are wholly merged in him. Him is who? The divine, that is the Lord himself, or you can call self, the oneness with the Supreme Lord. That's what it is. The him is him. The him is the God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who remain constantly established in identity with him. What does that mean? Who remain constantly established in identity with him. Constantly means at all times. It's not yo-yo. At some time you remember, oh, you are one with the Divine Lord. You are always in oneness. You are that. And at other times you feel that the identity is with the body. So here the identity is not with the body, which means I am not this body is the understanding you always have. So constantly, the identity, who remain constantly established in identity with him. The identity is I am one with the Divine Lord. This I is not separate than the Divine Lord. The I has merged in him. So you're always living in that identity with the Divine Lord alone. How do you attain this? See, these are all very, nice to learn about, or where, the Lord is expounding to Arjuna. He's teaching him. He's giving him the knowledge. But do you think it is such an easy thing to attain this stage? Of course not. This is part of the jnana, the knowledge base. So how does the jnana yogi live? How should he live as well? And he's talking about the yoga of knowledge, about the jnana yoga. Now, how do you live like that? Having that understanding, which means you first have to experience. You have to realize yourself. Till the time you don't have this understanding and that realization, how can you achieve this state? It's next to impossible, let me tell you. Let us be very clear about it. So what does it mean? That knowledge is very critical. First is you need to have the real knowledge, the knowledge about the divine, the knowledge about how to live in this world, how to conduct. Didn't Lord Shri Krishna teach Arjuna in the chapter 2 itself? Of course he taught. So what is he imparting? The right knowledge. That is exactly what he's telling Arjuna. Why are you being an ignorant being? First you need to understand the truth. Once you have the knowledge, then you cut asunder the ignorance with the sword of knowledge. Then what happens? Then you are able to apply. Once you have the understanding, then you are able to apply. See, it's a very beautiful lesson here. What it simply means is this. See, having a knowledge, you know the truth about life. You know this is how life is going to be. What it does to you is, it doesn't remove all the difficulties in your life. It just enables you, rather empowers you to face life. And when that situation come about, you are in a better position to handle or face that situation in a much stronger manner, which means the impact or the repercussions of whatever the event that happens, you're not going to be completely lost in that, or you're not going to be completely, fearful about facing that situation. Say example, that one day this body has to die. So when you know the truth, when the death strikes you, you're not going to resist. You will have to go through the process. You might have to fall ill, or something might happen where in a certain way, the death has been already programmed. It is predefined. Everybody comes with their own destiny. So we all have to face that challenge in our life. So what happens is, when you understand the truth, when you have accepted that reality, you will be able to handle life in a much better manner. You're not going to get angry, you're not going to get upset, you're not going to cry over it. No, it is part of the life. When you are being born, this whole life itself is a battle. It is a Mahabharat war, whether you like it or not. The war is fought in three folds, at least two folds which you will understand. One is in the material realm, in the day-to-day living, and one is within yourself. The greatest battle you fight every single day is with your mind alone. All those thoughts, those demons, it's something that you have to go through. But when you have the understanding, that understanding cushions that impact of what you are experiencing. That is all it does. But doesn't mean that you are not going to go through the suffering. You take the example of Buddha. Buddha, even after attaining enlightenment, don't you think he had to go through that process? Because that is a body. The body has its own karma, and he had to go through it. He had to, teach whatever that he had to do. And finally, how was his death? He was poisoned, and he had to accept those difficulties in his life. But the only difference lies in, Buddha knows the truth, that this is how his death is programmed. It is a time when he is going to die. This is how people are going to betray him. All that is understood by him. And having that perfect understanding, he accepts that. And he goes through it so beautifully. That is why he is a divine being. He is God. He understands that it's a part of the body. It is not connected to who he is. He's already attained that enlightenment. And what happens by that? And have fully become one with him. Their sins being wiped out by wisdom reach the supreme goal, whence there is no return. Absolutely. So there is no coming back. In case of Buddha, he went into nothingness. For him, there is no rebirth. But if you look at, for others, if you don't get moksha or liberation, you have to be born again and again. So there is a rebirth, which means you are going through the journey of your birth and death. Why? Because you have not been able to achieve that in your life. Achieve what? Achieve the objective of God realization or attaining your liberation. One of the goal which is very important. And if you don't reach that, then what happens? You're going to be born again and again and again. And we are always going to, whatever the sins that we perform, whatever the karma we perform, they are all going to stick to us. Because of which we sanction ourselves many lives, future lives, whatever our lives are going to be sanctioned. And that is why Lord Shri Krishna teaches how do you live in this life so that you can be born in an affluent family, in a better womb, in a Sattvic family, where you are being given the facilitation of evolving on that path, of doing something very wonderful in your life. That is what it is mentioned. But it all depends on what kind of life you are living in this particular life. So always remember this. And this one lesson people don't understand. And everybody thinks that it's very easily achievable. See, they don't even believe in that there is a life after. Whatever the actions they are committing at this moment in time, it's creating into a karmic debt. And that debt has to be repaid in some other life. The repayment doesn't happen in this life. Please remember, this is one lesson which is not understood at all. People just they just say, oh, whatever I'm facing today, it's because of my past karmas. When this knowledge is there, then why can't you, live a beautiful life, a God-pleasing life in this life so that your future can be better? This lesson is never understood. Today, the whole world has gone into a huge challenge. The pandemic has definitely disrupted a lot of things. There are a lot of transformations that is happening. People are unable to cope up. The world scenario is dynamically changing every single day. But how do you handle all that if you don't have the right knowledge? So here also the knowledge is extremely important. And most important is, please remember, no matter what you do in life, there's no point in, having more and more and more. It's all about desires, right? We are always given into our desires and we're running after, fulfillment of that desires. And when that fulfillment doesn't happen, then we get dejected. Or if the fulfillment happens, then we are ready with fulfilling of another desire. So there is no end to our wants, desires, and all that. So what is important? Acceptance to what you have in life and just working towards a future, which is something you don't know. You have to plan. Planning alone is your right. Like Lord Shri Krishna says, your right is to work alone. Similarly, your right is to plan alone. That doesn't mean that the plan, whatever you have done, is exactly going to work out. It may or may not. We don't know the end result. That is something you should never be attached to. So what is most important is having the acceptance, having, attained the oneness with the Divine Lord. You have to remain in that state at all times. And when you perform a selfless service, having this perfect understanding, then no sins, no karma accrues to you. Their sins being wiped out by wisdom. So your sins get wiped out with the wisdom. Wisdom comes from knowledge. You become wise. And then you reach the supreme goal from where there is no return. That is so beautiful. But what is missing today in us? We are unable to do any of these things. You know why? Our mind is not in our control. We are unable to control the mind. Why does that happen? Let me tell you something very beautiful. In the last couple of days, my Guruji has been giving a very beautiful lesson. I just recently, was trying to clear up some old stuff, clean the place. And I found a lot of things which was lying. And I wondered, why have we gathered all of these stuff over years? And we have never used it even once. Some things were like literally new stuff and it is just packed and lying. So what is the use of this if I don't use it today? Tomorrow I don't even know if I have that tomorrow or not. So I was like, why do we hoard things? Imagine, whether it is your family or anybody, right? Your parents. This is very classic in the way how the earlier generation have thought about life is. They have always worked really hard and they save for a future. They make assets so that their future generation can live good, can have a good life, and most importantly, whatever they have, acquired or they have got from their ancestors, they pass on to their family, their children, and the future generations. But do you think that the current generation or your future generations do even value that thing? No, it doesn't matter to them. Why? Because A, they don't have knowledge. What is missing today is the knowledge. These children or the future generation don't have an understanding about what are these things that what you have gathered, and what is the value of it. And even if you make some big houses and all that, these children think it is useless, it's worthless. They just want, good life. They want an easy life. They are not willing to work hard like you. Today everything happens at a touch of your, fingertip. They want to operate everything on their phone. And the only thing that makes them thrive is the phone. They use different apps to get their work done. They don't even want to move from their seat to go and, turn on the lights or turn on the fan or even go get groceries. Everything happens at the tip of your finger. So groceries come to your doorstep, food comes to your doorstep. Today nobody wants to cook. The tradition of cooking is gone, People want to buy everything. Even things that were traditionally made have the stores and where you buy some of the very authentic stuff. They have also adapted, the automation, and they have automated and standardized what they produce. So which means they are able to produce more. And that flavor, that love, when you actually put your heart and soul and put the effort to make it, that touch is gone. So the taste, whatever the food that you buy, some of the savories and all the different, the snacks, all that which you buy from the store has no love in it, and the taste has completely vanished. The traditional or the authentic taste doesn't exist anymore. Why? Because we have all given up and we have lost in this world where we want to make more money. So the bottom line is, what is it all about? Greed, the desire. The desire to want to make more. But what we don't understand is, yeah, no matter how much you make, whatever the asset that you have, your parents or your forefathers have left for you, has no value for you today. You're interested, yeah, if I sell this property, how much money will I get? And what happens with the money? You just want to live your own way of life, your own lifestyle, or you have different ambition altogether. But these people who saved every penny, they would say, I know some people who say, I used to walk 2 stops to take a bus. Why? Because I will pay 10 rupees less. Those are all the way they thought they will have to, they'll contribute towards a better future for the children. What they don't seem to understand is, it's about, you don't have to kill your desires to that level. So you don't have to sacrifice, at that level to save something for a rainy day which doesn't even exist. We don't know a future whether that is going to be there or not. So you know what, whatever that you have to do it now. Living in the here and the now is so important, and this is the lesson we don't understand. We think there is a tomorrow which we know exists. You don't know what happens tomorrow. So why not eat now? This is something my Guruji has taught, my Krishna Guruji has taught a long time ago. And every single time he'll tell me, you know what? You want to wear something, do it now. You want to eat something, just finish that. Go buy, eat, go to the restaurant or make something you want to eat, just finish it. You don't know if there is a tomorrow. Who guarantees what life is there for us? What is in store for us? We don't know. So why are we thinking that our future is so secure? It is actually not. So when you surrender, when you live in this oneness with the Divine Lord, life becomes very beautiful. And please remember, and when you're just doing your job selflessly, then no sins accrue to you. So what is he saying? Their sins being wiped out by wisdom. So the wisdom which you have gained through this knowledge wipes out all your sins. And you're able to attain that oneness with the Divine Lord, which is the supreme goal. So whether it is to Sankhya Yoga or Karma Yoga, you will be able to reach him, attain him, when you have this understanding and knowledge. But if you get attached to everything in this world and you're bound, then there is the question of you redeeming. There's no question of your mind and intellect which will be merged in the Divine Lord. It is never going to happen. Your mind is actually going to be dwelling on those sense objects, let me tell you. And then what is going to happen? You're constantly going to get attached to every single object you dwell, whether it could be animate or inanimate. What does it mean? It means that you might be attached to your children, you might be attached to your wife, husband, mother, father, or you're attached to your job, your bosses, you name it. And when you're attached to any of these people, let me tell you, then you're in for trouble. You can never attain the oneness because your mind is constantly dwelling in those sense objects, and that dwelling, creates attachment. And from attachment springs up desires, and these desires are insatiable. You're going to be running from fulfilling one desire to another and to another and to another, and there is no end to it. There is no limitations as well. So you don't know when your life has ended also. That is what happens. So why do you want to waste this God-given beautiful human birth? It is only given so that you attain the highest goal, which is God realization. And second is serve the purpose of the Divine Lord. And if you focus on this, then you will win in this world. Otherwise, you're going to suffer miserably. And please remember, this life itself is a battle. But having the knowledge, you will be able to face life with strength. You will be able to fight anything and win. That's what it means. So let us continue, verse 18. The wise look with equanimity on all, whether it be a Brahmana endowed with learning and humility, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a pariah too. This is again very profound, and this is something that Lord has already taught so many times in chapter 2, chapter 3. He's continuously telling that. What is it about? Equanimity of mind. In chapter 2, Lord Shri Krishna made very clear to Arjuna, strive to practice. He didn't say achieve, attain. He said strive to practice the yoga of equanimity. Strive to practice. What does that mean? See, every single day I get actually bored. I'm wondering, how did Lord Shri Krishna teach Arjuna the same thing over and over and over again without being exhausted? We are just in chapter 5 and verse 18, and he's still repeating the same thing in different ways. Can you believe? See, the same words only Lord Shri Krishna can give 50 different explanations. How profound is that? Imagine how great it is. I can't even fathom it. But the moment I look at this verse, oh God, this is nothing new. He's already taught. But why is it not being understood? That is because we are so attached to our mind, body, senses, ego, every other thing, and then we think, and we dwell in the three gunas is what rules our world. So where is the question of you getting out of it? So the only way to getting out of it is, he's telling here, the wise. Who is the one who's able to look with equanimity? The wise. So who are the wise? The one who has the knowledge. The knowledge has made them wise. Okay, the wise look with equanimity on all, whether it be a Brahmana endowed with learning and humility, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a pariah too. So you should be able to see everyone with an equal eye, whether it is living beings or non-living beings, whether it is animals or any creature in this world, or a pariah or a shudra, anybody, everybody has to be seen with an equanimity of mind at all times. What does that mean? In Sai Baba's Poti, Baba said something very beautiful. There's a very nice story there. I've done this Satcharita and I have explained this beautiful story, and in many other, satsangs of mine, I'm given this story. In that Baba, he goes in the form of a black dog and he has food from this lady. And then when this lady takes food for Baba to the, in Masjid, in Masjid Mai, she goes to meet Baba and offer food to him. And that time he said, "You've already fed me. I'm filled." And then she's wondering, when did I feed? And that time he reminds her, "Didn't you feed that black dog? So what makes you think I am separate than that dog?" Wow, that's so beautiful. So he is the Parabrahma. Everything, he's one with this entire universe. So there is no difference between him and anyone else in this world, whether it is an animal or anybody. He is able to, he's in everything. And he is the one who can manifest in any form. So he goes in the form of that dog to accept that food, that offering. So he says, the only reason why he is giving this story and an example is to tell us that we should, have oneness with everything in this world. And these divine beings are established in oneness because the entire universe rests within them alone. And second thing is, they don't see anyone with a difference. They see everybody as same alone. So here also, it is about equanimity of mind. What is it? That state of seeing everybody as equal. You are not going to differentiate, oh, that's a cow, that's a dog, that's a pariah, oh, Shudra, don't come near me, We have this kind of likes and dislikes. The pairs of opposites doesn't exist, which means they are perfect in that oneness. If somebody speaks to you nicely, so what is Lord Shri Krishna teaching here is, the wise look with equanimity on all. Means what? You're not going to get disturbed just because somebody is praising you, or then they are going to tell you, oh, how great you are. You're going to feel mighty pleased. No, they're not going to do that. On all, whether it be a Brahmana endowed with learning and humility. We think that some, Brahmana who's a learned scholar, oh, he's somebody great. No, they don't think like that. Even if he has a great learning and humility, you're not going to get carried away by his representation of his well-conducted behavior, manners, or knowledge. A cow is the same, or an elephant, a dog, and a pariah too. So if you're seeing a pariah or a shudra, you're not going to say, oh, look at them, they're low-caste people. No, we're not going to say that. We have to look upon everybody in the same equanimity. The wise look with equanimity. Means what? You have to be able to see God in everyone. And that's a very difficult state to attain. Please remember, we always have our likes and dislikes. It's very strong. That is why in chapter 2 itself, Lord Shri Krishna said to Arjuna, Arjuna, please strive to practice the yoga of equanimity. Why do you get disturbed by what's happening? Yo. Don't get into that. See, the Mahabharata war is anyways you have to fight. You don't have a choice. But if you say right now that you're not going to fight, things are not going to work. You will have to anyways fight because I have already programmed it. I means it's not the Lord. His nature does it. Mother nature, Prakriti. It's already predefined. It's destined to be. So how can one challenge destiny? Can we say that, oh no, this is never going to happen? No, we should never challenge destiny. Destiny is already predefined. But with the grace of the Divine Lord, what happens is that impact is not felt so much by us. Why? Because he already prepares for us to face those situations in our life, to be able to handle those situations. When that moment comes, you're actually enabled with the right knowledge, the tools, and you know the direction. You know how to act accordingly. So your reaction is not, you're not going to react, you're going to be able to respond well. Or sometimes if there is no response needed, then you'll just let it be. This letting it be is a very powerful thing. And then you're not going to keep dwelling. It's okay, let it happen. How does it matter? At the end of the day, see, you are in communion with the Divine Lord. When you're in one with that Divine Lord, what can anything happen to you? There shall no calamity befall my devotees. Lord Shri Krishna already tells Arjuna, when you're devoted to me, when you're in oneness, in yoga with me, what can happen to you? Nothing shall happen. I am the one who's taking care of you. This is the knowledge you need to have. Having that knowledge, perfectly go through that. Nothing shall go wrong in your life. This is the strength, this is the understanding you need to have. Then you will not be able to see any difference with anything. Whatever happens, then you will have that equanimity of mind. So let us continue verse 19. Even here is the mortal plane conquered by those whose mind is established in equanimity, since the Absolute is untouched by evil and is the same to all. Hence, they are established in Paramatma. See, I've already discussed this. So far, I'm saying the same thing. He's actually saying the same thing in different ways to, make Arjuna say, okay, now I will fight. But where is Arjuna even lifting his bow and arrow? He's sitting there and trying to question Lord Shri Krishna. This is Mahabharata war. Isn't the same thing goes on within us as well? If you observe yourself, you go through this state. And that is why Bhagavad Gita is imparted to all of us. It's a beautiful scripture, but only those who have to get this knowledge can get. And even if you listen, and if you are not able to, understand, so please remember, then your mind is completely lost in a different state. So that knowledge which you have to come to you will anyways come to you, but you have to put your effort, you have to show your, that eagerness to learn. My Guruji will say, his way of testing people is quite weird, He'll talk in a very interesting manner. You can't fathom a guru. You know why? Because their method is so unfathomable. So he'll tell people some very interesting things. Sometimes he'll pander to them. Sometimes he'll give all sorts of stories. He's always talking to an individual's mind. Please remember, here also Lord Shri Krishna is telling, it's Arjuna is already the divine being, right? He's already in oneness with the Divine Lord. But who is he talking to? The mind, which is saying, I don't want to fight. So please remember, the conscious, we say, right? The self within us is always in oneness with the Divine Lord. The knowledge, it is listening. The subconscious mind of ours is listening. It is imbibing everything. But somewhere the mind is not letting, for you to assimilate that knowledge, for you to accept what the Lord is saying to you. So my Guruji will speak to people's mind to see how they respond, how they react. So many a time he's just saying things for the heck of it. There's no truth. And I wouldn't say there's no truth. Truth is anything that the Guru says is gospel truth. But what I mean is, many a time he just says things which is all based on Maya, the material world. Because if it is connecting to your mind, it is a delusion. It's not the truth in that sense. So what is very important is, he'll see how people react, respond or behave. Because those who are very serious about doing something in life will not just talk, they will act. So my Guruji wants to see how many are really serious in their life to go somewhere. Because just coming and talking dime a dozen nonsense doesn't help. You have to first do something about it. Just telling, oh yeah, I have a Guruji, I'm just devoted. That's all doesn't mean anything. You're not going to get the knowledge or experience from somewhere in the air. How much of effort you are putting, how much are you doing something about it, is exactly equivalent to the translation of that, grace that will flow through you. But if you don't do anything and you follow your own ways and try to use your mind to come and, throw some nonsense over there, it's not going to work out. Similarly, he's telling, even here in the mortal plane, conquered by those whose mind is established equanimity. since the absolute is untouched by the evil and is the same to all. Hence, they are established in Paramatma. So what is he saying? Most important is even here in the mortal plane, they have to be established in that oneness. And then what happens? Mortal, having conquered by those who, he's saying something very, very interesting. Having conquered by those whose mind is established in equanimity. I'm very tired with Lord Shri Krishna because he's saying the same thing. Why doesn't the Arjuna understand? Equanimity of mind, it's such a simple thing, but why doesn't it get into our dead brains? Because we are so lost in what happens in the world. We get affected by every small things that happens in our life. Somebody says something good, bad, or if you lose a job, you're upset. If you gain the job, you're happy. We're constantly swaying between this yo. But what is the truth? What is in reality that you need to? He's saying even here in the mortal plane, conquered by those whose mind is established in equanimity, even you can achieve that state. And once you have conquered in the mortal plane, means he's saying it is possible, even living in the material world, in this mortal plane, when you have conquered, and by those whose mind is established in equanimity, since the absolute is untouched by evil and is the same to all. So the absolute means what? The one, the Parabrahma, is untouched by evil. There's no evil over there, the way we think evil is, and is the same to all, and is same to everybody. In their world, there's no right, wrong, good, bad. All that differentiation is in the mortal world only. Why? Because everybody is bound by their own nature, karma. So they are going to perform those evil actions. See, Lord teaches us something very beautiful. There is always the path of dharma. Please remember, He is the one, He is the substratum of all the framework that exists in this universe. But what is He saying is that in His world, everybody is equal. The reason why somebody might be born as a snake, as some creature, is because of their own karma. And that doesn't mean there is any evil. There's no evil. So he's saying the absolute is untouched by evil and is same to all and is same to everybody. God is universal. God is equal to everyone. And I always say something very different. God is to each his own. It's how you worship God. It's what you feel in Him. It's what is the bhav you have and the bhakti you have. Doesn't mean that yours is greater than somebody else's. Yeah, everybody has their levels. We say different levels. So, of course, somebody will be the greatest devotee, and that is the effort that an individual puts. So, it's up to you. How much effort are you putting in, craving for the Divine Lord? So, that's something individual. That's very much individual. So, we can't compare like that. And we can't say, oh, look at him. He's so devoted and I am not. But that's again a comparison, right? Why are you comparing? You should not be comparing. But you have to develop your own devotion to the divine if that is the ultimate goal in your life. So that depends on individual. So we can't even compare in that capacity. So don't try to think or feel jealous about somebody's devotion and all that. No, you can't. You can't compare anyone's devotion. Please remember, everybody has their own path to follow and they are perfect in their places. And so he's saying, and is same to all. Hence, they are established in Paramatma. Hence, they are established in Paramatma. Is it possible for you to attain this state? Just tell me. See, knowledge is one. What is Lord Shri Krishna doing here? He is giving knowledge. Yoga of knowledge. Jnana Yoga. What is it? Jnana means what? Knowledge. And yoga means through knowledge you attain that union with the Divine Lord. Is it so? It's so easy to just say that, right? Yeah, it's words. I'm actually explaining. But till the time I don't live these words myself, do you think I will ever understand what Bhagavad Gita is all about? No. Likewise, even Lord Shri Krishna is teaching Arjuna. You and me are that Arjuna. So we have to practice. We have to strive. What does he use the word? Strive to practice the yoga of equanimity. See, I'm repeating the same thing. There is nothing different I'm saying. Sometimes I wonder, why is this Arjuna not realizing? I wonder, why am I not understanding? Is it like that? No. See, we all have to learn, and the learning goes deeper and deeper. See, this is a spiritual knowledge. though we say spiritual knowledge, but we have to live in the material world. You have to apply in the material world to get an experience of what it means to live like this. How do you attain perfect equanimity? See, till the time you don't have the objects in front of you, how is the fructification of knowledge going to happen? How are you actually going to experience to live in the state of equanimity? See, the word is very nice, equanimity. Yeah, I tried to explain to you in various ways, giving few examples of what equanimity means. But till the time you don't experience that knowledge yourself, by practically living that, how do you understand the meaning of what equanimity actually means? And how will you set an example to the world? It is next to impossible. So first you have to live these lessons. You need to get a direct experience. Till the time you don't get a direct experience, nothing is going to happen. And of course, he says, no, there is no evil. Absolute is untouched by evil. Sometimes we think, oh, this people are evil. We actually differentiate by different ways. We categorize people in different buckets and we call them names. We do all these things. Why do we do? Because it's the glasses which we wear and how we look at people. But what is he saying? He's saying you have to look everybody at the same eye. Can you do it? That's a very difficult thing to attain. Why? Because we've already made judgments in our mind. When someone comes, we'll say, God, look at the person. He talks dime a dozen nonsense. We've already judged because of how the person behaves and does things. But what we forget is that everybody has an inherent nature. They are born like that because that's how they are meant to be. They are programmed to be, and they have a role to play. So it is very important to see God in everybody for this reason. But this is not such an easy thing to attain. You have to practice. You have to strive to practice. And finally, someday in life, with the Divine Lord's grace, you will be able to achieve. But until then, what happens? Until then, you're still struggling. That is what happens. So let us continue the next verse. He who with firm intellect and free from doubt rejoices not on obtaining what is pleasant and does not feel perturbed on meeting with the unpleasant. That knower of Brahma lives eternally in identity with Brahma. I'm honestly going to scream murder right now because the Lord is teaching the same lesson which we have done in chapter 2, chapter 3. What is he saying? Actually, I explained all of this just now. He's saying, he who with firm intellect and free from doubt, there is no doubt in his mind, rejoices not on obtaining what is pleasant. Good, bad, happy, sad, pairs of opposites. Is he saying anything different? The Lord has teaching the same thing to Arjuna in different ways. I'm sure he's a master of all subjects. He's a great master of English, I will say. He's describing the same lesson in so many different ways. I mean, we have to learn. This is an art. But what is he? Is he saying anything different? Of course not. Rejoices not on obtaining what is pleasant and does not feel perturbed on meeting with unpleasant. So whether you succeed, you're not going to feel mighty pleased, and if you fail, you're not going to feel miserable. Both you're not going to do. And that knower of Brahma lives eternally in identity with Brahma. Brahma means the unmanifest. So what does it tell you? You don't feel elated. Oh, we all have this great, habit. When something good happens in our life, we will feel top of the world. We'll go say, oh, I did this, I achieved this. I'm feeling mighty pleased. I was able to win in something, whatever that could be. Either you've given an exam and you've come out with flying colors, or you participated in some competition and you have come first. You name it. It could be sports, it could be anything, right? And then you feel great. And then in the next time you meet with a failure, you lose that match, or you fail in an examination. Then what happens? You're feeling miserable. Oh no, what has happened to me? We are all constantly yo. So a beautiful saying which goes with it: don't let success get to your head and failure to your heart. Because both doesn't matter in life. The day you understand this truth, that is what he says, that knower of Brahma lives eternally in identity with Brahma. So the day you understand this truth, you are not going to be affected by what happens in your life. You just know it's a part of existence. The body has certain karma, and the karmas are getting perform. It's all repayment, didn't we say? You're here for a repayment, and whatever the events has to happen, whether you like it or not, it is anyway going to happen. But having that understanding, you're not going to get affected, and that time, in that moment, you will understand what it means to have, oneness with, what it means to be in oneness with the Divine Lord. So that knower of Brahma lives eternally in identity with Brahma alone. So you are living in identity with the Divine Lord alone, that is Paramatma. In the earlier verse he says, hence they are established in Paramatma, in the Brahma. He's saying the same thing in different ways. I literally feel like wanting to murder Arjuna. Why can't you understand? How many times you need to explain the same thing? This is how we are in our life. We don't understand. We don't want to learn. So please, do something about your mind. Practice, using this knowledge. Learn to apply and strive to practice this yoga of equanimity. With that, we will end our satsang here today and continue from verse 21 in the next satsang. Thank you for joining the Bhagavad Gita Satsang, the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna. Om Shri Mahagadapate Namaha, Om Shri Gurudev Datta, Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Digambara Digambara, Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Guru Nathanata, Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha, Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru.